How do you frame a 4-1 victory at Anfield against this Chelsea team? Well, believe me, there are going to be a lot of channels this evening that try and frame it as this all-conquering, all-encompassing, brilliant victory from Liverpool, which definitely nails them on as the title favourites, puts them really far ahead of Man City in the table, makes things just insurmountable for any other team in the league. Well, guess what? A lot of those people are pandering to you and pandering to what you want to hear rather than what we should actually be discussing about Liverpool this evening or today, whenever you're watching. Welcome back to the Laurence McKenna channel. It's good to have you guys. Welcome back to Laurence McKenna on LFC, where we like to at least try and have an interesting discussion and not just hand out medals for nothing. Anyway, the point is that yes, the previous week before this game was pretty significant in Liverpool's history. Yes, to an extent that framed things. The Norwich game really helped as a buffer. But this month is so formative and is so key in Liverpool's season that you'd be forgiven for putting more emphasis on beating Chelsea 4-1, a team that earlier on in the season when Liverpool played Chelsea, Liverpool drew 1-1 away at Stamford Bridge. Quite a different system, quite different confidence in both teams, quite a different Pochettino side at that point, not necessarily in the way they appeared or in the personnel, but definitely in the way they were trying to play, and probably closer to Pochettino's identity than what it is now. Klopp, of course, was a little bit close to the identity we see now, but nowhere near the confidence that we see now, nowhere near the bonding that we see now, nowhere near this form of Liverpool that seems to be entering the next stage of the Klopp 2.3.4.0 era. This side was so fluid. This side was able to bring everyone into the game that you want to bring into the game. Conor Bradley looked so far progressed down the field that he was almost a winger, Frimpong-like, if you will. And Liverpool almost played a back three this evening. And Liverpool almost played a double pivot with McAllister and Curtis Jones. And then ahead of that, someone like Dominic Szoboszlai. And then on either side of him, kind of two attacking sort of number 10-y meets slightly inverted wingers-y types, alongside, say, someone up top like Darwin Núñez, who was more of a target man, or someone who should be shooting from distance, or someone who basically just took on every opportunity he could possibly take this evening. Reminiscent of someone else that Liverpool might be currently auditioning for the job at Anfield next season. But of course, none of that is in anyone's mind right now. Just winning under Klopp is what is important. And yes, I want to give credit to Conor Bradley, scoring his first goal this evening at Anfield with an incredible finish, by the way, and in a point in the game where the game was a bit more balanced than maybe we would like to admit it. Yes, I will actually start with this because I know there are going to be other people heaping praise on Liverpool. Liverpool probably gave away 2 penalties this evening. Probably should have at least given Chelsea 2 stonewall opportunities to score. Because guess what? There are a couple of times where the defence looked slightly out of shape, slightly caught out, and also slightly overloaded. And guess what? That's exactly what Chelsea wanted to do. That's exactly what a team like Arsenal will try to do after their less than successful outing in their FA Cup against Liverpool at the Emirates, where they just kept going wide and going wide and going wide, and Liverpool just kept eating them up during that performance. They were really happy to let them go at Joe Gomez and Konate and Trent on that particular time. So I don't think Arsenal are going to take that same route again. And you know what? If they do, then more fool them. I think what they will do is try to exploit where they see Liverpool as weak, which is obviously right in front of the defence, trying to split between Konate and Van Dijk, very similar to what Chelsea did, and put those guys under pressure, because that's what you have to do against, well, basically the best centre-back pairing in the league at the moment, at least statistically, but probably also in terms of aura and everything else. I say that probably going into the game, which will test them up there with the top 3 or 4 most this season. All of that said, Conor Bradley was fantastic, but Conor Bradley was very much playing an attacking role this evening against the Chelsea side, who looked so low on confidence, who looked so disengaged from what it was that Pochettino wanted them to do, who looked so out of it at Anfield that you'd be forgiven for thinking that this was some sort of like gimme or a rubber that Liverpool were just kind of playing as part of a, well, we might as well do this game. Chelsea just barely offered anything. There was no bite in the midfield. I know they bit into a few tackles when they were getting frustrated, to say, but they never really looked like they were actually believing in the shape and the system or had any kind of realistic goal to do against. They almost looked like it was like, hey, yeah, we accept that we're not as good a team as you. You do what you need to do, and we're just going to try and minimize the damage. I put in my Discord server, which, by the way, you can go and join down below if you want to go and join, and there is a Patreon as well if you want to try and support the channel. Either way, feel free to do so. CPM is at a particularly low in this time of the year, and it really helps to help creators that you particularly like to watch. So if you do have time to buy me a coffee this month, great. If not, join the Discord. I said in there, hey, like, this could get ugly. And it did. Darwin Núñez hit the post like, how many times? 4 times tonight? And he hinted at even more than that. Like, that was like 11 shots from Darwin Núñez at some point, and he didn't score. He had headers, he had shots, he had all sorts of opportunities that should, let's face it, like, should have been goals, and he should have been more clinical. I'm glad that we can kind of give that critique, but I think there are a few conversations that at the moment, because the fan base is in pain or is going through a bit of a change period, we're not really ready to have. And also, do you really want to derail a season or possibly not quite get over the line because you're just busy nitpicking about a striker who is part of a really brilliant, like, wiggly wobbly, timey-wimey thing that, you know, 1 minute he's out on the left wing, 1 minute he's out on the right wing, 1 minute he's passing it off to Jota, 1 minute he's looking up and he's trying to get it back to Jota, next minute Diaz is on the other side. All of this swapping and cutting and changing, you have to love it. Like, you know, there have been such set roles at Liverpool in recent years, there have been such structure, there have been such positionism over relationism, that now to see the way this side plays, to see how fluid it is, sort of makes you go like, okay, is this because a lot of the players know it is, you know, do or die towards the end of this, put everything into it between now and the end of the season, because we know we've got to give Klopp everything to get this Liverpool team over the line, to try and get another title, to try and get more trophies, to try and cement our place in history, because when people look back at the history books or whatever it is, they'll go, 1 title, 1 Champions League, was that enough? Because the history books don't tell you what really happened in this era. Maybe. But at the same time, if we just completely don't cross that and we just go, this team is actually really good. It's not about narrative. Sure, it's about confidence. Sure, it's about where they are in their life cycle. But this team is definitely on the up. Is it also that this team know that there is a chance that at some point when a new manager comes in, they may get broken apart? So making the most of these moments, enjoying playing together, just enjoying this time in a last dancey type scenario, not in a negative way, not saying that people won't be around, not saying that people aren't committed, all these caveats that you need with Liverpool at this point. What I'm saying is, it's a finite thing. And sometimes in football, eras can feel like they will just go on and on and on. But there has been a realisation that this Liverpool team is mortal. And so it's not about the weaknesses, but it's about making the most of everything that we currently have in this era. Curtis Jones stepping up, being the malleable, everywhere player that you just want him to be on that left-hand side of McAllister, being unselfish, being generous to the players around him, putting in the right tackles, using his body in a way, putting it between the Chelsea players and the ball. By the way, Liverpool as a team get underestimated for being able to put themselves between an opposition player and the ball, being able to put themselves in the right position to win the ball back at any point, not even necessarily having to tackle, but just anticipating the flight of the ball or its trajectory on the field. That is impressive. I don't know, I know you could train that, but I don't know how you train to acknowledge and recognise patterns over and over and over again. You can recognise your own team's patterns, you can recognise patterns from training, but working out where Chelsea are going to put the ball, working out, maybe if Chelsea aren't as good at putting the ball in good positions, but it's not about good and bad positions, it's about noticing Chelsea's patterns and going, we can cut that ball out, we can cut that ball out, we can cut that ball out. The briefings must be so detailed, the training to cut those things out must be so good, that when Liverpool win it back, there is almost a counter-attack already happening. Players are already in better positions. They look similar to the way that, was it Cruyff? Who was it? It might have been Zidane. There was a player who spoke about Messi, but also just other players in general. Great players were not 1 step ahead. They were 2, 3 steps ahead of everyone else. And good teams are 1 step ahead. But great teams are like, oh, we already know where this ball is, and we've only just won it back. That is what you see in this Liverpool formation right now. Núñez, as chaotic as some people might want him to be, is much more in the position to go, I'm just doing something when you're winning the ball back to make this as wide a space for the rest of the players to run into, as impossible to defend as possible for the opposition, and also making as much space for you to play the ball into as possible. That must be a nightmare to play. That is exhausting. Knowing that you don't have a 50-50 tackle almost at any point in the game. It's always skewed in Liverpool's favour. It's not field tilt. This is like a whole other level of what it's going on here with this Liverpool side. But we also have to acknowledge, is that every game for Liverpool? Are they going to be able to do that against a controlling midfield like Arsenal, against a more embittered, engraved side, a team who are more entrenched than Liverpool are, a team who are a little bit more drilled than Chelsea are? That's Arsenal. That's City. It's possibly Spurs at this point in the season. Or, if not more, then equal to. So think about that. Like, I'm just saying, this isn't about being a great team or not. This team are already really good. But what takes them down in history, what puts them in that history book, is the execution. And Klopp's execution this season may have just been heightened because of the situation they're in, mixing with great preparation. They say luck is that mixture of preparation and timing, right? Well, guess what? Liverpool prepared all the way through last season, and the timing was to reach for now. They went through that difficult period where they wanted to quit as players, as managers, as fans. There were people who wanted to just leave this team behind. Well, guess what? Getting through that period was more than worth it. Like sticking with this side, sticking with the players that you knew would get the training in the end, would be able to wipe their memory of the old trains and trends that Liverpool had and engrave themselves with new things down in the gut where Klopp likes his players to play from. That's compelling. And Liverpool didn't even have most of their talisman this evening. They didn't have Salah. They didn't start the game with Robbo. They didn't start it with Trent. And in fact, they brought those guys on later, trying to slowly bring them back in. And it's more than a compelling case that both of these replacement fullbacks in Bradley, who's been so exceptional but so different to Trent, and Joe Gomez, who's been so exceptional and doing a very good impression of Robbo, are not necessarily pushed out the side so easily. That shows the coaching, the brilliant training that this team is going through at the moment to make up for people lost, make up for positions, show that while Salah is fantastic, what Jota's doing is partly taking advantage of the same tactical decisions that the team make around a Salah, or the same tactical space that the team affords a Salah, but then what does Jota do with that space? It's not necessarily you're going to do a Salah impression, we're going to create this space by putting Bradley out there, Núñez there, Gakpo, by the way, when he came on, I love him every time he comes on as a sub. He is so game-changing, he's so intelligent, he's so forward-thinking, he's so dominant, he looks so much bigger than everyone else. He's a brilliant sub. I like him when he starts, but I think he's a brilliant sub. And I love the way that he meshes with everyone around him. I love the way that when he's running in like that inside left channel, he creates space for whoever's overlapping and space for whoever is on the inside channel of that. He is a good player. He's a great player, in fact. So yeah, we know that change is coming at some point, and I get it. Like, there are people who've been critical of me maybe discussing that change too early. Don't cross the streams. Video coming on that soon. But in the now, yeah, this team deserves praise. In the now, it is all about the order that you play your games in, building momentum, building confidence, giving your players, like, if you play 3 teams that are difficult in a row and then you play 3 more winnable againstable teams, how do you build confidence in those early games in systems that maybe get broken down by better sides that would work later on, but because you've already mentally had that cancelled out, because you've already had that moment of, oh, does this really work? Rather than the other way around, we've had validation followed by questions. That's how this works. That's why playing the teams in the order that you play them in is very important within a season. Why playing Chelsea before a harder game, why playing Norwich after hearing the Klopp news, and the timing of all of that is so important, is also so orchestrated by Klopp and Liverpool. They're very aware of the schedule. They're very aware of what is still to come. I just wonder if, as fans, sometimes if we appreciate that level of detail that people go into. It's really interesting. I'd love to hear from you guys. I think there are a lot of great performances this evening. I actually really enjoyed, I enjoyed a lot of Liverpool's performances. If I look back at the game, in terms of lineups, Konate deserves a massive shout out. He looked dominant. He was light on his feet on the ball. I think Alisson, really solid performance. Disappointed for him that Liverpool conceded, but again, get back to Nkunku on the other channel. Joe Gomez was fantastic. I thought Szoboszlai looked so light on his feet. He's brilliant when he comes back into the midfield. Is a really brilliant addition, especially if you look at the average positions. Szoboszlai is like playing as that kind of 10-y type figure between your Jotas and your Diaz's. He's so facilitative. And actually, you know what? I thought the two wingers were really good this evening on those inside-y forward type roles. Diaz deserved the performance this evening and deserved the goal. What I love is it isn't just the repetition of the same goal over and over again. There are lots of different blueprints from which Liverpool score. Let me know your favourite blueprint, and I will see you guys in the next video right here on the Laurence McKenna on LFC channel. In the days to come, speaking about what is to come up for Liverpool, trying to find ways to analyse the Liverpool change, shift, whatever you want to call it, and also just trying to find ways to enjoy the moment before the end of the season. Documentaries to come up, memories to come up. What else is to come this season for Liverpool? See you guys in a while. Much love. Bye.